Assalamu alaikum everybody, how's it going? Forgive me for my weird setup today. I'm trying something new with the reflectors here in the pristine outdoors. But anyway, I thought that since I'm paying for this newspaper, paying a lot of money for the Financial Times is a financially unfeasible situation for me. So anyway, since I'm incurring this upon myself, I figured I would let others benefit too. And it makes for some nice, lazy, cheap content. So without further ado, I found this article here which spoke about, where did I, the thing about navigating a newspaper is it can get pretty unwieldy pretty fast. So where did I put this? Let's find what I was looking for. There was, so the title of the video, as you can tell, I found a nice little column on, okay, here it is. This thing is like topology, man. Okay. It's called 7 Intellectual Habits of the Best Thinkers by Simon Cooper, who's one of the columnists of the Financial Times. So I just wanted to read it with you guys and offer a little bit more commentary, okay? It's not that long, and hopefully we can all benefit from these high nobles of society who read this newspaper. I'll talk a little bit more about why I actually still read a physical newspaper at the end of the video, but for now, I'm going to jump to what these 7 are. The first one is read books. A book is still the best technology to convey the nuanced complexity of the world. That complexity is a check on pure ideology. People who want to simplify the world will prefer online conspiracy theories. And I really agree with this because, we live in an era of like vibe politics, episodic politics. Whatever's in the news cycle right now, whatever's viral, people form their political opinions based on the vibes of the political base, whether that's right wing or left wing that they correspond to. And for that reason, they don't form nuanced, comprehensive worldviews, right? And many Muslims fall into this too, right? Because we look at the world and we're always just reacting to one little piece of it. And the worldview that you end up getting from that becomes often self-contradictory, inconsistent, and doesn't really help you predict. It doesn't really help you to look at the next thing, okay? So the next one is don't use screens much. That creates free time for books and creates more interstitial moments when the mind is left unoccupied, has freedom to roam, and makes new connections. Darwin, Nietzsche, and Kant experienced these moments on walks. The biochemist Jennifer Doudna, it's an interesting name, says she gets insights when out weeding my tomato plants or while asleep. Good for your tomato plants. But I definitely resonate with this, and subhanAllah, it's a forgotten sunnah. It's a forgotten sunnah to basically separate yourself from society, separate yourself from your daily routine, and really just make time for thinking, right? Because when you go on a walk, and it's ever more important in our day and age when we have our phones that connect us wherever we are, go on a walk, go on a hike, go into nature with nothing. And just what they call this is interstitial moments. I don't know the definition of it, but I know the meaning of it. It's like those moments where, all you have is you and your thoughts. And these moments, it's why, people are most creative when they're in the washroom or when they're, going to sleep. When I'm in bed, like trying to fall asleep, that's when I'm most creative. That's when I get my best thoughts. And definitely when I go out into the woods and give myself some time to think, that's when true creativity can emerge. That's when you can start to basically look at your life from a bird's eye perspective, look at the world from a bird's eye perspective. I still don't know if the lighting is any good. Hopefully hopefully you guys can see my face. Anyway, the next one, do your own work, not the world's. The best thinkers are not concerned with maximizing their income or climbing hierarchies. Doudna, back to Doudna, left Berkeley to lead discovery research at biotech company Genentech. She lasted 2 months there. Needing full scientific freedom, she returned to Berkeley, where she ended up winning the Chemistry Nobel Prize for co-inventing the gene editing tool CRISPR. I actually made 2 videos about this specific topic. The topic of like, go out there and make an impact. Don't just climb dominance hierarchies. Don't just look for what's going to pay the most. Don't do the world's work. Don't do, meaning what the world's work means in this context, it means what the world says is important. Oh, the world says that it's important to be a doctor, or the world says that it's important to have a degree. Well, is that really how you specifically can make the most impact in this day and age? How you can benefit the ummah most in this day and age? Probably not. What are the chances, right? Maybe, but probably not. The next one, be multidisciplinary. Pre-war Vienna produced thinkers including Freud, Hayek, Kurt, Gödel, and the irreducible polymath John von Neumann. The structure of the city's university helped. Most subjects were taught within the faculties of either law or philosophy. That blurred boundaries between disciplines, writes Richard Crockett in Vienna, How the City of Ideas Created the Modern World. There were no arbitrary divisions between science and humanities. All was philosophy. In its purest essence, the study of fundamental questions. Let's continue. So they go a little bit more on this topic, where they give a couple of examples, but I think the point is salient. You know, take any discipline. Take computer science. There's millions of people doing computer science. Take biology. There's millions of people doing biology. But how many people are working at the intersection of 2 or more specific fields? Let's say like there's 100 fields in the world. There's more, but let's just say there's 100 for the sake of argument. Because I'm about to show you mathematically why multidisciplinary work makes sense. If there's 100 fields in the world, then there's about 100 squared ways to combine any 2 fields. It's not really 100 times 99 over 2, but let's do 100 squared over 2 to make things simple. This is 100 choose 2, right? Mathematics. So 100 squared is 10,000. So 5,000. So from 100 disciplines, there's 5,000 pairs of disciplines, unique pairs of disciplines. What that means is that often the kind of work, the kind of research, the kind of insights that you're going to gain from just looking at one discipline is usually going to have already been explored. Simply because there's only 100 disciplines and there's plenty of people just focusing on one discipline. So in order to kind of unlock new insights, you're gonna do much better if you combine disciplines, because you're really going into uncharted territory. You know, you're not just a smart computer scientist, and there's other smart computer scientists, but you're also a smart videographer. And when you bring those 2 things together, you might be able to come up with insights that neither smart videographers nor smart computer scientists could come up with. Be an empiricist who values ideas. During the Second World War, Isaiah Berlin was first secretary at the British Embassy in Washington. His weekly reports on the American political situation were brilliant, empirical accounts of the world as it was. They mesmerized Winston Churchill, who was desperate to meet Berlin. I'm going to skip over some stuff that doesn't matter. In 1944, Berlin returned from Washington to London on a bomber plane. Because the cabin wasn't pressurized, he had to wear an oxygen mask all flight, wasn't allowed to sleep, and couldn't read as there was no light. And one was therefore reduced to a most terrible thing, he recalled, to having to think. And I had to think for about 7 or 8 hours in this bomber, meaning he had this interstitial moment, as we spoke about. And that's when he decided to become a historian of ideas, right? Honestly, this one seems a bit repetitive from the other points that the author was mentioning. I suppose they're talking about really just valuing thought. Interstitial moments is about creating the opportunity for thoughts to emerge, and here they're really talking about somebody who cares about ideas. So, next one. Always assume you might be wrong. Mediocre thinkers prefer to confirm their initial assumptions. This confirmation bias stops them from reaching new or deeper insights. By contrast, Darwin was always composing arguments against his own theories. Right? This was really something, out of everything that I read, the hardest to do for most people and the most important to do for most people. Because, you know, there's so much information out there and there's so much people holding each position. It's not hard to find your tribe. It's not hard to find your supporting evidence to support whatever opinion you want. So that's confirmation bias and selection bias. Once you kind of introduce the possibility that I could be wrong about whatever it is that I believe, and the possibility that it could be better if you believe something else, that's when you really can start to think about what the truth is, right? Finally, keep learning from everyone. Only mediocrities, what is that? Only mediocrities boast as adults about where they went to university aged 18. They imagine that intelligence is innate and static. In fact, people become more or less intelligent through life, depending on how hard they think. The best thinkers are always learning from others, no matter how young or low status. I remember being at a dinner table where the two people who talked the least and listened hardest were the two Nobel laureates, right? And I resonate with this. I think the smartest people that I've met in my life were always the ones who seemed like, we associate, subhanAllah, we associate low intelligence with the person who's always asking questions or like not sure about what the world is like. And no, that's actually a high intelligence behavior. High intelligence is about curiosity. Always being interested in what people around you might have to say, right? Because that's what leads to your high intelligence in the first place. That's what leads you to have the best opinions. Someone said, I don't remember who said this. He said, I'm always right because when I'm wrong, I switch my opinion. So I always just jump to the winning side. And instead of always like being in that soldier mindset, as Julia Galef puts it, of like always just defending your opinion, fighting the enemy side. No, sometimes you need to employ a scout mindset where like you're just assessing the reality. You're just looking for what the objective truth is, without worried about defending your side, Anyway, those are just some of those seven intellectual habits of the best thinkers. I said I would explain why I still read newspapers, particularly this one. Because you see, a newspaper, one, it lets you disconnect from devices. If you're trying to read the news on your laptop or on your phone, you're competing on a dopamine level with everything else on your laptop or phone, and a newspaper simply can't compete. So if you're a more disciplined person than me, then maybe it doesn't matter. The second reason is that a newspaper, there's a kind of honesty to the real estate, the paper real estate of a newspaper. On a website, the news company can put as much as they want on the website, right? But a newspaper, someone had to put thought into like, what is the specific text we're going to put on here for our millions of readers? Because there's a limited amount of real estate. So I don't want to do that thinking for myself. I want somebody else to decide what's the most important. And but when I put it like that, obviously that sounds dangerous, right? But it's the same problem with websites. It's just it's more of like a fire hose of information. You shouldn't take any newspaper or publication as authoritative. You should always have a filter and understand that you're not getting the full story. But at the same time, I don't have time to like just scour all the information there is on a news company's website. I would rather just like have that distilled, limited, thought through publication to kind of scour through. And that's all I have for you guys today. Assalamu alaikum.